Hi everyone, and you're very welcome to a short presentation on adverb clauses. Let's get started. What is an adverb clause? Well, previously we've discussed what an independent clause is. Okay, so this is an example of an independent clause. I was late to class. Okay, we have subject, we have a verb, and we have a complement after that. Okay, so that's an independent clause, nice and easy. Now, adverb clauses start with an adverbial, in this case, although. Okay, so although I left early, I was late to class. Because there was heavy traffic, I was late to class. Whenever my alarm failed, I was late to class. Okay, so you can see the slightly bolded adverbials there, although, because, and whenever. They have slightly different meanings. They might show contrast, they might show the result of something, they might show condition. Okay, so we can change the meaning by changing the adverbial. Okay, now after what's called the subordinating clause, we have a comma. Okay, so if you start with that subordinating clause starting with the adverbial, there's a comma afterwards and then the independent clause follows. Okay, so these are called subordinating clause, and then the main part of the sentence is the independent clause or the main clause. Okay, so that's how we build an adverb clause. We can also add it on after the independent clause. That's fine, just do keep in mind that you don't need a comma if that's the case. You can just say, I was late to class, although I left early, no comma needed. If you start with the adverb clause, you'll need a comma afterwards. Okay, so just a quick recap of the rules. Adverb clauses are added to independent clauses. They contain a subordinating conjunction, like the ones we looked at there, although, because, whenever. The comma follows the adverbial clause if you start with the adverbial clause, and they can all have different meanings. You might show one for contrast, for concession, time, reason, causation. Let's have a quick look at these. So at the top of the screen you have a number of different adverbials or subordinating conjunctions. Okay, so we have although, unless, as soon as, because, while, even though, since, after, and if. Now all of these have completely different meanings. Okay, so for example, for condition, we can have if, and we can have unless. Unless means if not. Okay, and then in the adverbial clause we're giving a condition. For concession, we'd have although and even though. Contrast, we might have while. Okay, if we're just have two different things in the independent clause and the adverb clause. Okay, we're contrasting between them. Okay, so while I like cake, my friend likes coffee. Okay, something like that. If we're going to show a reason, we can have because and since. Since can also show time as well. Okay. And then for time we have after, before, and many others, and as soon as. Okay, so the meaning of each of these subordinated conjunctions does change slightly, and so you need to know which category they fit into to know when to use them. Okay, so let's start. We have an independent clause. I feel really sleepy. Nice and simple. And just to show the range of possibilities here, think of the adverbials you can use to show these different meanings. So condition, reason, concession, time, contrast. Okay, there's lots of different things you can do with this really simple independent clause. So for example, although I feel really sleepy. Okay, so that's going to be the adverbial clause there. I have 3 assignments due today. Okay, so you have that one independent clause and you can play with it. You can have lots of different meanings. depending on which adverbial you choose. Okay, so why not try your own sentence out to see if you can come up with one or two of your own. Okay, so just lastly, I'm going to go over reduction. So sometimes when we have adverbial clauses, so while she was studying, Amy heard a loud noise. We have she, this is in the adverbial clause, and that refers to Amy, okay, they're the same person. So if that's the case, what we can do is, and also if we have a progressive tense, okay, so was studying, what we can do is we can take that out. So while studying, okay, Amy heard a loud noise. That's called reduction, and that's fine. The subject of the adverbial clause and the independent clause does need to be the same, and it needs to be in a progressive tense, or you can also use passives. Okay, when he was finishing his lecture, the professor encouraged students. So we can just say when finishing his lecture, the professor encouraged students. Again, in the adverbial clause, we have a progressive and we have the same subject, okay, the professor. Okay, so that's when we can reduce them a little bit. Let's have a look at these. A, B, C, D. We have 4 sentences here. Which one do you think is correct? Well, we can see in the first one, although Henry hates grammar, but he studies it anyway. That's not going to work because we have although and but. Okay, we can only have one of them. We can't have 2 of those conjunctions in a sentence. The next one, although Henry hates grammar, he studies it anyway. You can see here that there's a period after grammar, okay, and that creates a fragment. Although Henry hates grammar is not a full sentence, that cannot be finished with a period. But we do see in C, while Henry hates grammar, he studies it anyway. That's fine, okay, because we have a comma after the adverbial clause. For the last one, because of Henry hates grammar, he doesn't study it. Grammatically, this doesn't make sense. Okay, because of, we need a noun after that, and we have a clause. Okay, good luck with your adverbial clauses. Try them out. They'll make your sentences more complex, and I think they'll help your writing. Good luck.